Hey guys, we made it to season 5 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, we aim to empower and embrace creativity through diversity as we dive into the fascinating stories and experiences of a diverse range of individuals, highlighting their unique perspectives and creative endeavors, from artists and entrepreneurs to innovators and activists. We celebrate the power of diversity in driving creativity and fostering positive change. Join us as we engage in thought-provoking conversations like...
I made myself intentionally homeless in pursuit of my purpose.
We're aware that a lot of people want to present and they were in my position, and what's worse, they weren't a white male, which is a joke that's even still a thing.
I think my family never ever say you can't do something, so full of support for whatever dream. If I said tomorrow I want to fly to the moon, they'll probably say I wish you all the best, Mel.
So guys, I just want to say thank you for supporting the Us People podcast for the past 5 years, and we look forward to sharing another new theme song with you. Let's go.
Hey, how you doing? My name's James Gaffney and I'm a presenter, producer and digital content executive. You're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
I had to overcome a lot of obstacles just to get here.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I'm welcoming the beautiful James here with me, who is a presenter, producer and social media executive. See, I got it out this time. James, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast. How are you?
I'm really good. Thanks so much for having me. It's brilliant to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. It's a beautiful day and I'm glad it's starting on a positive note. So, James, my first question for you is, and even I'm intrigued to know more about you, is could you tell me who you are as a person, where you grew up and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm an interesting one in the sense that most people will know what I do a little bit, but I do so much all the time. So yeah, let me introduce myself. My name's James Gaffney. I'm 22 years old, so I'm still hopefully right at the start of my career. But yeah, I work for the Ivy Collection, the restaurant brand here in the UK, and their social media exec. So basically looking at the recruitment side, how can we get people to work for our business using creative social media to entice people in. I'm a radio presenter. I've done some TV producing as well. So I've done a little bit of everything. But yeah, taking it back 22 years ago, I'm still in the same house I was when I was born. I live here in Surrey, in a place called Epsom, which is where I was born. So yeah, ideally close to London, but then I've got the M25. So it's worked out quite well. I'm part of a family of 5. I've got a brother and a sister and then my mum and dad. And I have to say, I've been so lucky. And I think this is something that maybe we'll talk about across today, is that I have such a supportive network around me of, yes, friends, yes, professionals, but also my family have been unbelievable. You know, my brother is not into creative arts at all. When I went to kind of drama school, he was dragged along to performance after performance. But, you know, they've been super supportive. And I think that really has molded me to be the person. My mum has always kept me really humble, kept my feet on the ground. So something amazing's happening in my life, she's like, yeah, but it's not that good, you know, just to kind of just to keep me grounded and keep me on the straight and narrow, really. So yeah, in answer to your question, it's the people around me that have made me who I am today. I don't think I'm that different to when I was, a 10-year-old. But yeah, the family's so important for me.
See, this is what I love when you have a family unit, and it's nice to be able to have that, because so many people in their lives go through so many different things. But it's nice to hear when a younger generation, turns around and says, I'm doing what I love. I have a support unit. But I love what you said about your mum as well.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not that good. Come on. Then,
But do you know what? It's so important, because sometimes, I've gone into meetings. I've met some really, really important people in the industry, and I've gone, I've made it, but I haven't, obviously. And I can probably count on one hand how many times she's kind of said, well done. But that's not because she doesn't love me or doesn't care, because she absolutely does. Yeah. But it's just about kind of encouraging me to work harder to get to my goals. And she really is an inspiration to me. She really is.
I love that, because she does actually make you have the humbleness and groundedness that you need in your life. And as you go more up the scale and evolve in what you want to do, that will help you to just have a more open-minded view on life and what's going on around you. Because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, sometimes, you know, as we go through lives and we get bigger positions, we kind of put ourselves in a bubble sometimes. And sometimes if we don't have the right people around us, you know, we can go two ways. So it's really nice to have that groundedness to say, you know what, you're doing really well. I love you for what you're doing. Keep going, but I'll slap you anytime you get out of order.
Yeah, and I don't get out of order that much. I think I'll say that. But
there's nothing wrong if you do sometimes, because we all need to.
Yeah, but she is really kind of, I guess, my the way I kind of measure where I am. It's just like she's just so grounded. My whole family are. It's not just my mum, but my mum in particular. It's always like, yeah, it's not that good. Keep going.
You know what I love? You sound like you really have like a really calm nature, regardless. You know.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And then anything that comes your way, you'll deal with it as it comes, and then you'll just move forward. So that's pretty cool. So I know I haven't really asked this question. You're fairly young still, but that does not mean that you haven't been through anything. We all do, and usually things start from a childhood growing up. So my second question for you is, James, has there ever been a time where you have looked in a mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from being a person that you might not have necessarily liked seeing to becoming the person who you are becoming, which you are doing, and that's awesome, to becoming the person that you wanted to become now?
Yeah. Do you know, I don't know if I've ever kind of spoken about this publicly, and I think a lot with, like, when you're a radio presenter, I mean, do a radio show, everyone thinks they know absolutely everything about you, because to create that lifestyle link and to create that kind of connectivity with your audience, it's like, yeah, you know everything about me. The truth is, no one really knows much about me. It's all a facade. But yeah, there has been times, to be honest with you. Of course there has. I think there has for everyone. I mean, one that really stands out is the pandemic. I was just turning 18 coming into the pandemic, so I was doing my A-levels at the time. I was in this bubble. I was in a relationship. I had great friends as well. I was at college having the time of my life. And then one day it just disappeared, you know, and it's like, we might see you after the Easter holidays. We don't really know. We think there's a 2-week lockdown. Never went back to the school. Never really had my 18th birthday. And that sounds ridiculous, because people really suffered a lot more than that during that. But it's that growing up. It's that key part of your life.
It is.
And I think even to now, I'm not a particularly social person, which is a ridiculous thing to say considering the social jobs I have. But you know, I don't really go out. The friends I did have at school and college, I see occasionally, but they've gone off to university or whatever. So sometimes you do look in the mirror and go, what is this all for? I've got, you know, I feel really lucky. I've had a lot of success with someone of my age, but I'm not in a relationship that ended a couple of years ago. So there's no one to share it with like that. I have my family, I have my close friends, but I'm not doing what normal 18, 19, 20-year-olds were doing at that time. And then even kind of earlier than that, I think being creative, I never kind of felt like at school, as amazing as my friends were, I never really fit in the sense of they'd all go off to play football. I remember at a time actually where apparently, my mum tells me, I broke down in tears and said to my mum, I want to go and play football with my friends, but I was going to a dance class. You know, I was like, why can't I be like them? And she said, because you're creative. That's what you're meant to be doing. You know, I'm not a dancer anymore, but I did go to drama school and I did kind of do that creative stuff. So I think looking back on it, I must have had those moments all the time as a kid. But the one that, sticks to me is, even it happens still now, you know, I spend a lot of my time with people that are older than me, you know, particularly with the Ivy, that are in positions, you know, really senior positions, and I'm kind of friendly with them. But actually, they're not really my people in terms of my social bubble. You know, they're not my people. So I do look in the mirror and go, is this worth it? And then you, of course, have moments where you go, God, yeah, this absolutely is worth it. But, you know, I do feel like I've skipped a key part in my life, if that's because of the pandemic and we were locked down during, you know, my 18, 19 years, or if that's just the way I've gone career-wise. But, yeah, I think, I don't know if it's not that I didn't like the person, because I knew what I was doing, that I loved it, you know, in the dance class, or when I was doing, you know, these different things, or when I'm doing a radio show, I get the buzz of that. Yeah. But, you know, especially at the start of your career, you're doing unsociable kind of shows. And my first ever radio show was like 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. It's like my family weren't even listening, you know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, so there is that loneliness. I think that's probably the thing I struggle with most, is that kind of fear of being lonely for a long time while I'm trying to build my career. So yeah, you look in the mirror and go, God, I could have just had a normal 9-to-5 job and had friends and gone out every Friday night.
Do you know what?
Yeah, to answer your question, I've been there, you know.
Do you know what, James? I find that when you're on a path or your own journey in your life, and this is just some advice. The journey is lonely because you have the purpose. And sometimes within that journey, you're there to show people that if you work hard at a young age, if you work hard and work smart at a young age, you can relax when you're older and do whatever you want. But at the same time, remember, you have the groundedness behind you. And a lot of people, as you get older, will look at you and say all types of things about you because you've reached success at such an early age. But that is because you worked for it. Everyone, like you said, always has an opinion of who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Success is a lonely road regardless for all of us who are doing something especially creative. And with creative people, our minds are completely different to the rest of the world. Like, we would be creative anything from 10 o'clock to 5 a.m. in the morning. And that's our 9 to 5, for example. But they're doing a 9 to 5. But a lot of people who have spoken to me have said, Savia, it's really soul destroying having a 9 to 5 and not doing exactly what you want. So James, see it as you are blessed to be able to do what you're doing. And when those lonely times come in, say to yourself, you know what, I'm abundantly lucky to do what I do. And I love doing what I do. And this is just the hard work that I have to do now so that later on in my life, I can reap the rewards and do absolutely anything that I want to do with my life. And plus, you're on the microphone and you never know who is listening. So every time you're talking on the microphone, you could be potentially saving someone's life.
Yeah, it's true. And like, I think back to, I didn't, when I would say, I don't know, 12, 13, going through that kind of classic coming into secondary school. Might have been older than that. I don't know my ages. But as I kind of went into secondary school, I did struggle a little bit and I didn't really know what it was, but it was mental health. Everyone has mental health, positive or negative, right? We all have it. And I think going to secondary school, I didn't realize that's what it was, but I just felt like I was wanting to do something completely different to everyone else. And I did struggle with that. And, you know, comments would be passed at school, totally didn't mean it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like people being immature and young, but it you know, it does affect me. So I think like anyone that's listening, even older than obviously that time when I was at secondary school, I didn't have things like podcasts or people openly speaking about it, even like 10 years ago, you know. So it's a great platform to be able to say to people, like, everyone goes through it. You are genuinely not alone. Like, even if you think that person is perfect, they're not. And they might have, you know, like, you know, the job that you think you want, but they're struggling as well. So it's about being open. I think I have got better at that with age. But that's because there's so many people in the media, but even in my private life, that are just open and will make me have that conversation. You know, as busy as I look all the time with all the jobs I do, there are moments where I'm traveling back from London on the train or driving home or just, you know, in bed at night and just like, God, this is a lot of work, isn't it? You know, and where's it getting me, you know? So, yeah, I think we've all been there, right?
That is true. That is so sweet. So tell me what you've done. So, right, let's talk about some of the things that you have done.
Sure.
Right? Because like you're saying, you're driving back and forth, you know, digital media, broadcasting, Global Academy in West London, where I am. That's awesome. So let's talk about some of those things that you've done, even digital, you know, media, broadcasting, and being at the Global Academy. How has that all been for you?
You know what? It's been amazing. It's been a whirlwind, really. I would say the last 2 years, it's kind of all gone up. So after COVID, or to fill my time, I went to a drama school called GSA, Guildford School of Acting. I used to want to do theatre and musical theatre. I still love the theatre. I'm just not that good. So we went into presenting. No, true fact, right? I was doing a performance at drama school. We had to do like a song show or something, and I did a song from Barnum, and the teacher said it's actually the worst I've ever heard that song sung. I went, oh, thank you, that's very kind. But he said actually, James, what you've got great at is
so
the state.
Politely as well.
I know. I was like, oh, thank you. I'll take your feedback on board. But what he actually said as well, which was the positive in that, he says you're doing the wrong thing. You've got an incredible stage presence. You've got an amazing personality. Just be you. Go and present. Don't try and be a character, be an actor. He said that's kind of probably not where your strengths lie. I went, okay, cool, I'll do that. I went to go and work for TikTok Shop during the pandemic. So selling iPhones on TikTok. And it was all legit before anyone asked. People asked me that a lot. It was 100% legit. But that was my kind of first experience of live broadcasting. And they were brutal. They were like 3-hour live shows with no ad breaks, not like a TV show. You're answering questions direct from the comments. You're selling. And it was an amazing thing. It was part of a company called Whoosh World that worked closely with TikTok Shop. So that was at the birth of that. And then one day I was driving back from Watford, where we were filming for TikTok Shop, and there was a really bad accident, I think, on the motorway. So, you know, when you're listening to the radio and the traffic cuts into what station you're listening to?
Yeah.
And I was just like, for God's sake, this is so much. Traffic keeps cutting in. I was trying to listen to music. And a station called Radio Jackie kept coming on and on and on, which is a local station to where I was. And I remember listening to it as a kid, but I'd never really thought about radio. I'd never really thought about Radio Jackie. I just thought, this is meant to be, I'm going to email these guys and just say, I've been told I'm quite good at presenting. Could I have a show? I've been told, yeah, by a drama teacher. Aww. And I did. I emailed that night and said, I don't really know anything about it. I'd love to come and see you guys at the studio, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, do you know what? You're in luck. One of our travel presenters has just like walked out. So we need someone to cover Wednesdays. I went, I'm your guy.
See
I went
how
across
it works.
there.
That's cool.
But I'm a massive believer in everything happens for a reason. And me just being in the car that day and the radio annoying me was a message to go and reach out to these guys. So then I joined there, and I remember the day, it was the 20th of April 22, because that was my birthday. So I thought, I won't have a birthday tonight. I'll go and do my first shift. 3 months later, someone said, I think you're quite good, actually. Let's give you a go on a show. I did 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. I've now been there 2 years, and I host their kind of daytime weekend show. We give away money. We have games. It's super cool. And it is a massive kind of training ground. So that's the radio thing. And I'm not part of Global Academy. That's the training places that we have at Global, but I'm actually part of Global. I'm an employee of Global, LBC, Heart, Capital, Radio X, Classic. They're the stations we have there. And it was a colleague from Radio Jackie that went to go and be an LBC presenter, said, I think they're looking for travel. Do you fancy just getting in the building? I said, yes. And this is my kind of advice to anyone who's trying to get into anything creative. But I think in all walks of life, there is no way I should be on LBC. I know, I follow my politics, but I'm not like a political broadcaster, and I'm not serious enough. I'll try and crack a joke every 30 seconds, which is not what they look for on that station. But Henry, who's there, he said, you just need to get into that building and then go and knock on doors. And the truth is, the reason I'm doing travel at LBC is so I have a pass into the building, and I have an email that ends global.com. So when I'm trying to send to big producers, they're not going to ignore it from my Gmail account. They will see it. It will be in their inbox. Plus, I'm in the building, so I can just email some. I met with a talent development manager at Global the other day, and it's just like, I'll meet you in the cafeteria. Do a 5 minutes of a coffee. Here's my demo. Any advice? Any tips? That wouldn't be able to happen unless I just went and read the travel, which is not ultimately what I want to do or work in news. Mm-hmm. But it's the way to get me in. So that's kind of been since last October. I've been there. And then the craziest one of all of this is about networking, and that's something I'm a massive, massive fan of. I think everyone should network as much as they can. I interviewed someone, an incredible businessman called Abbas from Nigeria, for a podcast that I do. And he said, network is net worth, was his kind
very
of quote.
True. Yes, absolutely. 100%.
I love that. He said, every person you meet is going to earn you money, get you a job in the future. So use that network, create that net worth effectively, and make sure you're reaching the right people. So I really took that on board with me, and I got put in touch from my drama school to ITV, the broadcasting company. And it just happened to be that the CEO of ITV, her daughter went to the same school, but I had no idea. So she agreed to sit down with me for literally 5 minutes. She's a very busy woman. And I was like, I want to be a TV presenter. She went, not a chance. You're 20. I'm not going to kick Anton Deck out and put you on. I went, all right, fair enough. But she said, what you got to do is learn the world of TV. All I'll do for you is I'll send you an email to a producer of a show called Dancing on Ice. They need runners this year. You can just learn about the show. I went, yeah, 100%. So I became a runner on Dancing on Ice, the first series of that, which was brutal, but it was an amazing show to work on. And then I met my boss there, a lady called Carol that I still work with today. I obviously impressed her, thank God. And she then said, I'm doing Eurovision in Liverpool this year. Do you fancy coming along? said, yeah, let's do Eurovision. But then, and this is the exciting bit, there was a contract mistake for about 15 of us that were booked as runners.
Oh, wow.
They'd put the wrong amount of money down on the thing, and we'd obviously all signed it. It was like, oh, thank you, we'll have that. And they went, oh, no, sorry, that's way too much money for a runner. But, you know, that's not what you guys earn. And our boss, Carol, said, well, they signed it now. So they're working on that. And they went, okay, we'll have to give them extra responsibilities. They can't be runners, but we'll find other runners. And then they'll get promoted to kind of talent management, which was so lucky. I had no experience in it. The next thing I know, I was managing talent on, you know, Eurovision's one of the biggest broadcasts that certainly was in the last year. And then since that, I've had these incredible opportunities to go to Madrid and do some talent management and producing there. I went back in that same role, Dancing on Ice, the next year. I'm going to be doing that in next series in 2025. But I just got so lucky because someone wrote the wrong number on a contract. But all of these things happen for a reason. So in answer to your original question, I do this a lot. I go off on tangent.
No, I like it. I do the same.
But, you know, two years ago, it was a dream. I wanted to work in radio. I wanted to work in TV. The dream is ultimately still to be a radio breakfast presenter on a big network, to present on a big TV show. But 2 years on, I think about the progress that I've made through, yes, hard work, networking, also an incredible amount of luck. I think you have to have that. And all of these things have happened in 2 years. And that's what always gives me my drive and my belief is like, if we sat down in 2 years' time again, how much further could I be? Because I am in ITV, BBC, the biggest broadcasting houses in this country. I'm at Global. You know, Raja figures came out this week, and it's like 28.6 million people listen to Global. That's exactly where I want to be, you know? So, yeah, it's been hard. The sacrifices I've already talked about I've had to make, but, you know, it has been an incredibly busy 2 years.
I love that. That's something that's awesome. One thing I love about what you do is the fact that you have the drive to be able to do it, and you're telling people to keep on going and doing this. So for me, my next question for you is, if you weren't doing this, and I know that you said to me, you know, you were crying before and you said to your mom you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do. But if you weren't doing this, what do you believe that you would be doing in your life?
It's a great question. It's an amazing question because I was academic. I was always like bang average in the class. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was 20 questions, I'd get 14. Like it was good, but it wasn't incredible. So I wasn't top set for anything like that. So I was never kind of destined for like a top university and academic degree. I honestly believe, and could be an outrageous statement. You could clip this up here and ruin me.
Nothing will ruin you. Come on.
No, I'm joking. I honestly think I could do any job in the world. I mean, anything. I used to play football at a very amateur level, but I believe I could play in the Premier League if I put my mind to it. Mm-hmm. I did a tiny bit of singing when I was at drama school, but that was ultimately not very good. But I believe if I worked on it, I could be a singer. Like, I believe that if anyone puts their mind to it, I think they genuinely can do it. And I didn't, talking about the digital content side that I didn't even mention there that I do for the Ivy, I went to work as a receptionist at the Ivy just to have X amount of money coming in each week. I knew what I was going to earn. That could then fund my dream of being a presenter. And then that became creative because I said to someone one day, I can't believe you guys are not on social media. Like you need to be as a company because eventually you're going to lose your demographic that comes to the Ivy. There needs to be a new birth coming through.
Well done. Yeah.
And they were like, all right, do you want to come and speak to us and interview for it? Did you get a social media degree? I said, no, I didn't. But I reckon I could do it. And I had no experience in anything social media. And now I'm head of one of the biggest restaurant brands in the UK. I did that because I believed I could. I had no backing. I don't have a degree. I didn't do university. So what would I be doing if I wasn't doing this? Honestly, anything. Because I believe that if you put your mind to it, you can achieve literally anything you want. Probably you wouldn't want me being a doctor without a degree or a pilot or something like that. But, why couldn't I go to university tomorrow? Why couldn't I work as hard as I possibly can, go to medicine school and do that? I think my biggest asset, if someone says, what's your biggest asset? What is your talent? It's not presenting. It's not, using the decks in a radio station and making sure the fader's on the right button. It's my drive and it's my hard work. I think that's genuinely what sets me apart. There are more talented people out there than me. There are people that are more natural presenters, but I will work on it until I kind of get to where I want to be. That's my message really to myself and to others. So I could name a job and I'll have a go at it.
Do you know what, James? It's really funny that you say that. Yesterday, I had a conversation with Stevie Ritchie. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. And he was on the podcast just yesterday. And he was saying to me exactly the same thing you said. He said to me, he thinks he's like, an average singer. And he was hearing singers that were like, how can I say, he would like Whitney Houston, Celine Dion's, Frank Sinatra's, and he thought he hasn't got a chance, right? And then I said to him, from a professional songwriter's point of view, because that's what I do, I wouldn't go for those people. I wouldn't. Because, but there's a reason. There's an absolute reason. The reason is this. You can have someone who has an exceptional voice, but doesn't have the charisma, the drive, and the uniqueness to be able to capture the audience. And remember, you're talking about millions of people, just like Global, who have millions of people all the time. I would rather have somebody who is a 5 or 6 out of 10, who can sing the song brilliantly, but has a charisma to them that captures the audience and entertains them every time they sing that song. And he said, Savia, I agree with you. And that's what it's like. Same thing when I had an interview with Will Smith. Will Smith says he's not the best. By far, he is not the best. But he works hard in order for him to be who he is and how he wants to be. So for me, that's what matters. Your drive and your ability to work hard, like we said before, in order to get you to where you want to. And your network is your net worth, because those people will help you to be able to get you where you want to in your life. And that is the most fundamental thing about it.
Yeah, and honestly, I know that I can work harder than anyone else. Someone might have more of a God-given talent, having the right voice for radio or whatever. I feel like I've honed it and worked on it. And then I also remind myself, I never see my age as a barrier. I think 22 is young. I see it as an incredible thing that, wow, I'm 8 years till I'm 30. So that's 8 years until I think about some of the presenters we have on Capital that are 26, 27, 28. And I'm having meetings with the same boss as them at 22. So I'm nowhere near there, but I'm close. So I know that what's going to get me over the line is that drive. They might be, born to be radio presenters. I might not have been. I don't know. But I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to make it by God-given talent.
This is what I love. So if I turn around and said to you, if there was one question that people rarely ask you, that you would love somebody to ask you, what would that question be and why?
Wow. I think it's going back to a little bit earlier. It's not like, are you okay? Because I am. But it's, what is the kind of emotional toll of what you do? So that's
a good question, actually. Yeah, I like that.
And I think that my job in terms of when I broadcast or when I present, when I've been doing my TikTok live thing, I just think where I go on the street with a hospitality company and speak to the public, I am booked for all my jobs because of my personality, my energy. And people will listen to me on the radio and go, crikey, he's a happy guy. And I'm very happy in my life. But there is so much, there's such an emotional toll to that. I'll do a 3-hour live radio show and I'll come home and I'll sit on the sofa and watch TV. And my mum like, you've worked for 3 hours. You could help out, around the house. I said, yeah, I can. You're right. But the emotional energy that takes from you, not just the physical energy, but the emotional energy. And you get to the end of the day and I don't have a partner. There's no one to turn to and say, oh, that was a tough day today. Yeah. It is just me. And I don't feel like I can speak to my friends, because then it feels like I'm complaining about what I see as the best job in the world. I say to my friends that I retired at 18, so I don't feel like anything that I do is work, because it's creative and it's fun. But actually, you then can't go and sit with your friends who have just come out of university. They're telling me about all the university debt they've got. They're struggling to get a job in the current climate. And I'm going, God, yeah, it's tough being a radio presenter. It's really tough. When, it's not really. I'm so lucky. But I think people assume that everything's perfect. So they don't say to me, like, do you struggle with it? Is there an emotional toll to it? Are you not tired all the time? People see me work all the time and think, oh my God, every day is different. He has the most creative, amazing jobs.
It's not. But believe me, guys, it's not. I'm saying it to you.
Knackering.
It's hard. Yeah, from when you have to draft questions, from when you have to get things ready, even having a podcast is like having a radio station, but just in a different way. You have to be on it. You know, there's so many, I'm sure me and James can talk about this all day, which we can, but there are so many things in the background that you have to do that people just don't see. You know, and for you, I want to ask you about the emotional. Can I ask you about the emotional
please,
side of it? You know, for me, there are moments where I just want to sit in silence. I don't want to hear anyone's voice. I don't even want to hear my own voice, you know, and people may say, you know, Savia, your voice is really calming and so on and so forth. And you have a brilliant radio voice, by the way, you know.
Thank you.
To be able to, you have a brilliant radio voice, and it's smoothing, it's soothing to hear. And that's another thing why people will tune in. But from an emotional side and mental health side, because like you said, we all have it. What is it like for you not being able to express your emotional side of who you are, especially to your friends? Because that, again, can be a lonely thing.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's sometimes lonely. And I think another question I do get asked a lot is, God, it must be a nightmare living with you. Well, that's like a statement. But, you know, God, what's it like living at home with you? You know, 100% of energy, 100% of the time. And I go, it's actually not like that at all. So if you see me at work, or if you listen to my radio show, or any of the producers that work with me, they're annoyed. Come Saturday 3:00, they're like, I'm glad he's going home. We'll see him next time, you know, because I'm so much energy. But really, that's it. I don't get in the car. I don't really have the radio on. I will just sit in silence and drive back to my house. I get home, my family. I have moments where I'm like energetic, my radio personality, if you like. But the real James that not many people see is a guy that kind of just mopes around the house. Sounds depressing, doesn't it? But it's not. But just kind of sits in front of the TV. I watch the TV. I'll just like make dinner. Or do you know what I mean? Like it's so low energy. It's so polar opposites of my work persona. When people think, oh my God, this kid's got so much energy. He's 22 and like, look at him, he's smashing life. But the toll on that and the cost of that is I'm not a great person to live with, to be honest. You could ask my family. And when I go out with my friends, if we're sitting around having a drink, I'm not the life and soul of the party. I'm just sitting there listening to their lives. And sometimes you just need to do that. So I don't see that as a weakness.
No, it's not.
Or a problem. But yeah, I suppose the emotional toll of it is you're just really tired all the time, and you cannot do that. No one in the world, you know, as much as you might think your favorite celebrities are, God, they're energetic. The person I think about is Ryan Reynolds. I've seen he's obviously been doing his tour with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
And he's one of the funniest people. I love him. I think he's brilliant and energetic. But he will go home and he'll have moments where he won't speak to anyone. You know, they're not built completely different to us. So I think that's the thing that I struggle with, I suppose, the most, is having to switch off when I get home. And then your family go, oh my God, is he okay? And they start worrying about you. And I'm absolutely fine. I just need a moment, because I've been speaking and going, Dua Lipa all day. Like, Dua Lipa's great, but it's not worth 3 hours of shouting, you know?
Oh, man. So if I was to ask you, James, if judgment, because judgment is a big thing at the moment, because we all get judged based upon how we look, who we are, where we come from, and so on and so forth. But if judgment wasn't in the dictionary, what would you do differently in your life not being judged?
It's another great question. Nowadays, I used to care a lot. As I told you earlier, you know, my friends would go to football, and but I'm going to dance. Why are you going to dance? And then you'd feel judged, and then I'd be upset. The thing was, I wanted to go to dance, but the reason I was crying and saying to my mum I didn't want to was because I was being judged by my friends, because they couldn't understand why I didn't want to go play football at the park. So back when I was younger, it was a massive problem for me, and a barrier that I used to, on multiple occasions, just say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just not going to do it. It's not worth it. And, you know, I spoke about my mum being harsh and keeping me grounded, but she was also in those moments my biggest supporter, who said, no, James, you are really good at this. You've got a talent. You have to pursue this, because you'll regret it for the rest of life if you don't. So that's the positive side of what my mum does as well. But nowadays, I am so over the judgment thing. I've come to terms and I've come to peace with the fact that there will be people I know, people that I don't know, I've never met, but also some of my so-called closest friends at one time, who find what I do embarrassing, cringy, who will talk about me behind my back I know it. Some of it I know because I've heard, and some of it I just assume will happen. But I'm at peace with that because I'm doing what I love. I'm 22 and, you know, I've got a career that I'm proud of. 2 years ago, I said I want to be a radio presenter and I want to work in TV. 2 years on, I am a radio presenter. I do work in TV. So really, I've achieved what I want to do. I want to go bigger. I want to get better. But that's my job. You know, when you ask what my title and what my job is, I'm a presenter and a producer, and that's something I'm incredibly proud of. And if someone has a problem with that, who I know or don't, or finds me embarrassing, doesn't think I'm very good, the truth of it is, I just simply don't care. The people's opinions I care about are the people that are really, really close to me. You know, my family, my friends, and also professionals as well. I mentioned earlier, Greg, who's the talent development manager at Global. I had an incredible chat with him. We went through my stuff, and he said, "James, that is rubbish, that bit there." I went, "Thank you. That bit's amazing. Thank you." It's so constructive, and he's at top of his game at one of the biggest radio places in the country. I'm going to listen to what he says, and I don't take it personally. I don't see that as judgment. I see him as helping me to ultimately realize, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, when people will make little comments when I'm out and about, or you see things on social media when you start posting, the thing is, I know I'm good at what I do, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing at 22. No one would entrust me to speak on these stations if they didn't think I was any good. So judgment isn't in my dictionary, in answer to your question. It's not. I just do not care if people think what I do is cringy or embarrassing, because I like what I do. It's my job, you know. And a lot of it, I always believe, stems from jealousy as well, because maybe they don't like their job when they're sitting in an office all day and going, "Well, he's getting paid to live and speak on a radio. I want to do that," you know. So judgment was a huge thing when I was younger. I struggled with it massively. But now I don't care. I really don't care.
A lot of the things in your life, when somebody makes a comment or talks behind your back, and trust me, I've been there. Normally does stem from jealousy or envy, or for the sheer fact that somebody has insecurities about their life and they want to take it out on someone, so they decide to take it out on the person who is using their life to fulfill their purpose. That's what it is 9 times out of 10. And it's sad, because I don't know if you're a bit like me, James. I like to help people all the time, you know, and sometimes even with the people who are being mean to us, we still seek to try and help them in some kind of way.
100%.
And they'll still go behind our backs and talk about us, which is unfair and unkind, and we become disappointed, you know. So for me, I have to let those people go and move forward. And then you'll realize, when you let those people go, new people come into your life every single day. And those people who support you and understand the journey that you're on will help you to become the person that you want to become. And that's simply it. You leave it. That's it.
And talking about new people kind of coming in, you're absolutely right, because I also still from places where I've been where people have turned on me, if you like. There are still people who I have incredible friends who are so supportive, and actually they're sometimes too far the other way. They're like, "Oh my God, you are incredible. You might be the best radio presenter I've ever heard." I'm like, "You don't know what you're talking about." But you know, they're so supportive. And then there are people around me who absolutely champion what I do, and particularly I look at the digital content stuff. There's people that have got years of experience in hospitality, and they are putting me in front of some massive big hitters in the industry because they believe in me and what I do. So it's not all negative, but it goes both ways, right? The judgment side of things. So people can overjudge you and think you're better than you are or incredible. It's about having that middle ground and staying grounded. But there have been incredible people that have come into my life recently, but people that have always been there that still remain so positive. But of course, in everyone's life, there are people who have a problem. And I'm always reminded and told that if I continue on the trajectory I will, those friends will want to come back into my life.
No, they will.
I know, and it's like, no, you had your chance. Yeah. And actually, a massive benefit of working for the Ivy is I get incredible discounts at restaurants. So I remember when one person found out, I got a restaurant going, "Do you know what? An email message saying, we haven't seen each other in a very long time. We should go for lunch." I went, "Oh yeah, bet we can." So we're not going to the Ivy because I know exactly what you're getting at. So, you know, it does go both ways, but friends are incredibly important, but also, you know, I try not to take anyone else's opinion other than my own, really. I have a lot of self-belief, so my opinion's the most important to me, but also professionals that are in the industry who genuinely want to help and have the right level of critique and praise. And of course, my nearest and dearest, but, you know, everyone's going to have an opinion, aren't they?
See, I've only got 2 more questions for you, but one of the questions I do want to ask you is, I'm really intrigued, because you are on radio, is if there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life, James. Oh, I knew that. If there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life, what song would you choose, and why would you choose that particular song?
That's incredible. Well, my karaoke song is Taylor Swift's Love Story.
Oh,
I don't think that's the soundtrack to my life, but it's an absolutely incredible karaoke banger. So I'd say that. Elton John, I don't even know the name of the song. How Wonderful Life Is When You're in the World.
Yes,
I hope you don't mind to put down in words.
That's it. Yeah.
I think it's your song, isn't it? I think. I don't know. We'll look at that after. But that one, only because if you just listen to the words, I know it's a love story that he's talking about, and that's not how I interpret it. But it's how wonderful life is when you're in the world, and that's not aimed at one person for me. That's just aimed at the incredible people, my family around me. That, you know, yes, it's lonely. That I've explained the journey of this kind of self-success that I'm trying to create, and sitting in a radio studio late at night on your own, just like staring at the screens going, oh my God, is this what it's come to? You know, actually, when I step away, I'm so lucky. You know, I'm very lucky to live where I live. I'm so lucky to be surrounded by the people I am, to be working at the companies that I am at such a young age. Life is wonderful, you know, and I have to run myself a lot. So I suppose that would be the soundtrack. It's like, I hope you don't mind, but I'll say it. Life is wonderful because of the people around me and because of the jobs that I do. So let's go for a bit of Elton John.
I like that. That sounds pretty awesome to me. So I've only got my last question for you. I was going to actually ask you the question about peace, but you've pretty much answered it, which I think is pretty awesome. Because I always I always like to end the podcast on a really positive, peaceful note, which is asking people when was the last time, you know, they felt at peace. But you've practically answered that because of literally everything that you do in your life, and you found it. You don't mind how what people say, and regardless of the toll that it takes on you, you still decide, you know what? The biggest thing, James, I will say, is forgiveness. Yeah. Forgiveness holds a massive part of who you are, and it lets people know that you're completely different from everyone else. So that's definitely something. So before I even get the chance to say thank you, because you are absolutely awesome, and you will be coming back on the show in 2 years' time. You know, we'll stay in touch, and you're going to come back in the show in 2 years' time. And I would love to know what you're doing, even if it was to enhance other people's lives like you've educated them today, which has been brilliant. And if it makes one person, you know, out of all the listeners that we have, to come back on, you know, and do what they love in their lives, then that's completely awesome. You know?
And it's so important as well. You know, I am by no means the most successful person you'll ever have on this show. At this current stage of my career, I'm very young, I'm very green, I'm right at the start. But do you know what? You know, I want to help as many people as I can. Only literally 2 days ago, a guy called Archie that was at the same school as me, I didn't really know him, is going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and taking a play up there. And he says, I know nothing about social media. Do you have any advice how I can promote my play and make it stand out? And I literally said to him, here's my number, give me a call and let's chat through it. I said, listen, Archie, first thing I'll say is I'm not an expert, I don't have a degree, but my main advice to him was, if a video you post gets 0 views, it's not the video, don't take it personally, that's sometimes how the algorithm works. If you believe in what you're creating, whether that is online content, any kind of job in the world, if you believe that it's good, you've just got to keep going with that and be consistent and keep posting and keep doing what you want to do. I'll have people message me probably once a month on average. You know, I'm still very new, but people will message me and say, my God, you work at Global. That is my dream. How did you do it? And I said, with a lot of hard work, here's what you got to do. This is my career path. Each one's going to be different. By all means, try and copy mine. I have no problem with people using my material or using what I've done as examples. So I'll say, reach out to your local station, try and be a travel presenter. If you're good at that, you might get moved up. Then reach out to bigger stations, travel. That's my route. Might not be the route for you, but I was that person that was sending 50 emails a day to, yes, A-list celebrities on Instagram, but also producers as well that I'd find on LinkedIn.
Yep.
No, and it's the most frustrating thing when they don't reply. I also understand why they don't, because they're very busy and they probably have 100 people emailing them. So I will always be that person that, although it's much on a smaller scale, if someone reaches out to me, I will give them absolutely everything I can, because I think a lot of people think it's a very competitive industry and everyone hates each other. And yes, it's competitive, and there's a lot of people that want to have this incredible job. So you've got to stand out, you've got to be good. But actually, I think you've got to use the people around you. If you listen to any radio station, I'll take Capital as an example, all the presenters there were against each other to become a presenter there. But they are one big family. They bounce off each other. Their radio is good because they work together and you can tell they're friends. So it is so incredibly important that you don't kind of reject anyone on the way up, because if you do make it, you'll meet them on the way down when they're coming up, and then your career's over. So mine is a massive thing on helping other people, because I'm still sending those emails wanting help and advice. So I'd be the biggest hypocrite in the world if I got a message from someone that I kind of knew from the past and they wanted literally 5 minutes of my time and I went, I'm too busy. You've got to make time. You absolutely have to make time for that. But yeah, you will meet people on your way down that are coming up, and then there'll be no help to you then. But I think my biggest message to people listening is, if you are creative, but even if you're not, I don't know, you want to go to finance or something, I don't know, reach out to people. If you send 100 emails, you'll probably hear nothing back. So the next day, send 100 emails, you'll probably hear nothing back. On the third day, when you send 100 emails, you might hear back from one and they'll tell you no. So then send 100 emails the next day, and then you might hear back from one that says, yeah, okay, I'll give you some advice, but it will go nowhere. You have to keep going. Yeah. I cannot tell you how many emails and messages I've sent. I didn't even like coffee 2 years ago. Now I'm addicted to it because of how many coffee meetings I've had. It's absolutely ridiculous. So take as much information from everyone as you can. Reach out to the people that feel that can help you. And I'm not just talking about, your favorite from my thing, presenters. Literally talk to anyone that's in the industry, whether they are on work experience. Do work experience. I've done so much work experience as well. Yeah. You just have to surround yourself in what you want to do, because you might also realize you don't want to do it. If you don't have the work ethic to wake up every day and go into London or wherever it may be and surround yourself with these people, or if someone does get back to you and say, can you meet me Wednesday at 9 o'clock for a coffee? I don't care what you're doing at Wednesday at 9 o'clock. You have to be there for that coffee now. And if you can't move things around, then this is not the career for you, really. So, and with that comes sacrifice that I've already mentioned, having that sense of loneliness. But if this is something that you want to do, you'll kind of put that all to one side and make sure you make it work for you. So I am at peace, in answer to kind of your final question. I am at peace with my life and what I'm doing. I know, and I can already hear what the people who have a problem with me saying. He's just saying that, listen, I am so happy with what I do because I don't feel like I'm working. And if you can wake up and say, I'm going to work, but it's not work, then really you are a winner in life. And I have self-belief that I'll make it to the levels I want to. But if I don't, I can say that I speak on the biggest radio station in this country. I've worked behind the scenes in some of the biggest TV shows. I'm really happy. And that's the main thing. And there was a time where I wasn't, and all I craved was success. And I think sometimes you do everything to prove people wrong. And there was a start maybe 2 years ago as I was starting all of this. It was all about, well, I'm going to have to post somehow on Instagram today that I'm at ITV, because I need those people that doubted me to know that I'm in ITV today. Now I'll post what I'm allowed because it's cool. But also, it's not my first thought going, oh, how am I going to get a selfie here? Or I've got to go and approach that. I remember my first year of Dance on Ice. It's probably not allowed. But I'd spend the first couple of weeks going, oh, I must get a selfie with so-and-so celebrity, just so people can go, oh, my God, James is doing well. Now I've got that inner peace that I'm doing well. I don't really care what other people think. I think that can be the caption of today's episode. James doesn't care. That's what we've got.
I was thinking something like that. I think that's the conversations that we need to have, and that's why I enjoy having this conversation with you. Yeah. Because you're the next generation. I'm obviously older than you, but you're the next generation, and that's awesome that you're doing this. And that's why I just like listening to you guys, because you give hope for the next generation.
And I need people to understand that I don't care is a positive thing. and it's not from like an arrogant place. You know I've got a hell of a lot of work to do, more work than I've already done, and I've got to hone my kind of skills and my craft. But if you let the outside noise come in, you cannot perform to your best. You just absolutely can't. So you've got to go on this kind of solo journey. So that's my kind of takeaway bit of advice, that if you put your mind to it, you can genuinely go and do anything, but also reach out advice, because every single person that you see who's made it was like you one day.
That is true.
How many years ago they had to start, they had to send that first email, they had to be a runner on a show, they had to go and have a coffee and get some advice. It's not going to happen overnight. You've got to put the work in. But in terms of the careers that I do and being creative, I think it's the best job in the world. I think it's 100% worth it.
See, James, thank you so much. Before we go, I do want everyone to know where they can find you so they can get this advice from you. Because I've had, an hour with you, and it's been absolutely awesome to share. And it's gone so quickly, as it always does with guests on the show who articulate themselves in such a way. But I would love for everyone to be able to find you, or even just be able to have, even if it's a small part of a connection with you where you help them and they might be able to help you. Where can they find you?
I'm on all the social medias. I think it's James _Gaffney. But if you type in James Gaffney, it's the one with the one that for some reason I've gone for a professional headshot as my Instagram profile. But yeah, James _Gaffney. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I mean it when I say that, literally just drop me a message and I will respond in any way I can. I can't promise it'll be helpful. What I can promise is that, I'll give you kind of my story, my journey, and hope that it can inspire people and maybe start the next kind of generation that's even behind me. So, Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn there. But yeah, just get in touch and let's connect. I think that's what people say in the industry, isn't it?
That's exactly what they say in the industry, James. I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Ask People podcast. We know how technology can be, and we know we're going through it. But it's been absolutely awesome having you on the show, having your presence. And I can sincerely say this, you have a bright future ahead of you. Stay humble as you are, stay grounded as you are, and just keep inspiring yourself and other people the way you do. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome, guys. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And this is where I say to you all, guys, thank you for listening. Once again, stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care.
And this is my kind of advice to anyone who's trying to get into anything creative. I think in all walks of life, there is no way I should be on LBC. I know, I follow my politics, but I'm not like a political broadcaster, and I'm not serious enough. I'll try and crack a joke every 30 seconds, which is not what they look for on that station. But Henry, who's there, he said, you just need to get into that building and then go and knock on doors. And the truth is, the reason I'm doing travel at LBC is so I have a pass into the building and I have an email that ends global.com. So when I'm trying to send to big producers, they're not going to ignore it from my Gmail account. They will see it. It will be in their inbox. Plus, I'm in the building, so I can just email some. I met with a talent development manager at Global the other day, and it's just like, I'll meet you in the cafeteria. Do a 5 minutes of a coffee. Here's my demo. Any advice? Any tips? That wouldn't be able to happen unless I just went and read the travel, which is not ultimately what I want to do or work in news. But it's the way to get me in. So that's kind of been since last October. I've been there, and then the craziest one of all of this is about networking, and that's something I'm a massive fan of. I think everyone should network as much as they can. I interviewed someone, an incredible businessman called Abbas from Nigeria, for a podcast that I do. And he said network is net worth.